Welcome to the Explainer. Think about an airport. It's all about routine, right? Distractions, announcements, people rushing around. But what happens when that routine gets shattered? Today we're going to deconstruct three pretty chilling first-person stories from airport encounters, and we're going to try to understand the patterns that pop up when our whole sense of safety just gets pulled out from under us.
So let's just dive right in with this line because it really is the heart of the matter here. This one sentence perfectly captures the lesson that three totally different people learned on three different nights. It's a really powerful warning about the real danger of just not paying attention.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the setting. We think of airports as being secure, controlled environments. They're crowded, there's staff everywhere. But what these stories show us is just how quickly that illusion of safety can, well, evaporate.
What's kind of wild is that even though these airports are hundreds of miles apart, the environments are almost identical. We're talking late night, delayed flights, terminals that are starting to empty out. You know that specific kind of quiet you only get in a big public place after almost everyone has gone home? That's the vibe. A space that's supposed to feel safe suddenly feels really isolated and very exposed.
In every single one of these stories, that feeling of unease, it doesn't start with a bang. There's no sudden action, no loud noise. No, it starts with something way more subtle, and honestly a lot more unnerving. It starts with the simple act of being watched.
Now check this out, because this is where it gets really chilling. Look at the overlap in the descriptions from two different narrators in two different cities. Middle-aged guy, gray jacket, dark pants. But here's the most important part. He wasn't distracted, he wasn't on his phone, he wasn't reading a book. He was just observing.
And that right there is the key. This wasn't just some bored traveler accidentally making eye contact. All three narrators describe it the same way. A focused, steady, unsettling gaze that just screamed intent. It's a look that says, I see you, and you are what I'm focused on.
So, you're in that situation. Your gut is just screaming at you that something is off. What's the very first thing you do? Well, what's fascinating is that a clear pattern emerges here. In every case, the first thing they do is try to rationalize it, to talk themselves out of it.
The narrator in Chicago, his immediate reaction is self-doubt. His brain just serves up the most common explanation, right? You're just being paranoid. It's our brain's way of trying to keep things feeling normal, to avoid confronting something scary.
And the second narrator does the exact same thing. She blames it on being tired. It's late, I'm exhausted, my mind's just playing tricks on me. So again, we see logic being used to try and shut down a powerful gut feeling.
And yep, you guessed it. In Denver, the pattern is complete. The third narrator tells himself he's just overanalyzing a simple glance from a stranger. So in all three cases, their first instinct was to ignore their real instinct.
And this is the moment where all of that rationalization just fails. For each person, there was one single, undeniable action that made it absolutely impossible to look away anymore. A hidden bag, a chilling phone call, a quiet comment on a plane that proves, without a doubt, that you've been watched. This is the point of no return. This is when instinct finally wins.
Now, the O'Hare story gives us a perfect playbook for how to turn that gut feeling into action. Notice what he did. He didn't panic. He didn't confront the guy. He very calmly created distance. He found the right number to call, and he gave a clear, calm description of the threat. He acted. Okay, so in all three stories, our narrators do the right thing. They tell someone. Authorities get involved. But this is where the story stops being clear. This is where the certainty ends and this chilling ambiguity begins. And honestly, that's what makes these stories stick with you.
So here's the crucial part. The immediate physical threat was gone, but the psychological threat, that was left to just fester. Our narrators were left with a story that has no ending. And in a lot of ways, that's the scariest kind of story there is.
We're left asking the exact same question the narrator is. He saw the guy hide something, he reported it, but he'll never know the answer. What was in that little black bag?
And then in the Ohio story, the fear gets amplified by this unknown person. Was the man on the phone with a partner, an accomplice waiting just outside? The idea that someone else was involved, someone unseen, it elevates this from a creepy guy to a coordinated plan.
In this question, man, this one from the Denver story might be the most chilling of all, because it confirms the narrator's absolute worst fear. He wasn't just noticed in a passing glance. He had been under intense observation for way longer than he ever realized.
All right, so let's move into our final section.
And let's see how all these pieces build up to one single powerful lesson about being aware of your surroundings.
I mean, when you lay it all out like this, the pattern is just undeniable. These aren't just random, creepy anecdotes anymore. They become a kind of data set. It's a clear warning being repeated over and over again.
You know, what each of these narrators did ultimately was make a shift. They went from being a passive traveler, kind of lost in their phone or their own thoughts, to being actively aware of their situation. And that simple ability to pay attention, to really see what was going on around them, well, it made all the difference.
This quote from the first narrator really is the ultimate takeaway, isn't it? It's about understanding that our attention is actually a deterrent. Our instinct is a real, legitimate defense mechanism. In a world that is constantly trying to distract us, sometimes just looking up and paying attention is an act of defiance. Because in the end, these stories really aren't just about airports. They're about trusting that small, quiet voice inside all of us that pipes up when something just isn't right. And they leave us with one final, crucial question to think about long after this is over.